I'm Dr. Greg Mendelson. I'm a clinical psychologist in supervised practice, and I work with adults and youth, primarily LGBTQ folk. What does it mean to you to call yourself a slut? What does a slut mean? I think it's a word that I have a lot of issue with, where I think that kind of puts a negative connotation on sex and sexuality, where it should be something that's embraced. I mean, unless you use it in an empowering way, like, fuck yeah, I'm a slut, you know, like, that's great. But I mean, historically, that word has been used to put people down. And so if I had a client coming in saying, I think I'm a slut, and they were saying it in a sort of negative way, I'd wonder what's going on behind that. Like, why put somebody else down based on their sexual practices? So are you a slut if you have sex with 5 people in a month, or is it 6? Like, where's the cutoff? And like, we could unpack that and talk about it, but using it to put other people down, or even to put yourself down, it's unfortunate. The foundation of it for me is like, first of all, are you being safe? You know, are you safe in your sexual practices and not necessarily having unnecessary risky behaviors? But if you're not hurting other people, if you're being respectful, if you're having open communication, I think that's the bigger picture. It's empowering. There's nothing wrong with having a lot of sex. It can be great. Why do people think that there's something wrong in having too much sex is such a loaded question. I'd love to answer that, but there's no kind of simple answer. I mean, there's religion, culture, societal factors, all these things that come into play. If we were born on this island, you know, and it was like a blank slate, I don't know if people would start to say like, oh, that person over there having sex 3 times a week is a slut. You know, this is like something that's years in the making. But it's a social construct. I think the world needs more just sex positivity and just to embrace sexuality, sex. It could be great. I think putting away the shame, the stigma, the taboo behind it, and just embracing it for what it is and being open and honest and excited about it. I mean, because I work with queer folk and straight folk, and I have a lot of clients actually that are self-identify as straight, but come to see me because there's so much stigma within sometimes the straight world about sex. So I think the queer community is pretty good with that overall, or in many pockets where sex is more openly discussed. We have a more expansive understanding of sex, I think, in my personal opinion too, you know, just because if you're born straight in a straight world, which many people are, you don't have to question what sex is, sexuality, how you have sex, navigating that. But in the queer world, we have to critically think, and so I think that can be a struggle for a lot of people, but then it becomes a gift. Within the queer community, it's something that's probably more discussed with each person. It's more normalized, and it's like a critical thinking within the dynamics of the relationship. Something doesn't feel right, really exploring that, whether it's with a mental health professional or just other friends. I think for a lot of people too, being queer, it's nice to have another queer person to talk to. I don't think that we should separate the queer people versus straight people, but really having other people just to talk about your lived experiences can really help unpack all that shame and guilt that we were born into.
Before you guys go, I just want to give a shout out to a website that I created called Himeros.tv. It's basically like a sexual playground for men who have sex with men. And each week we upload a different video that helps you take your sex and sexuality to the next level. And then we discuss it later in the week through a virtual classroom. It's a lot of fun. It's amazing. I'm super passionate about it. It's kind of like, it's like porn, but better. So I hope to see you there. It is Himeros.tv.